Being trapped in the cycle of pain, guys, it prevents us from healing. After everything I've been through, I made a pledge to myself to become a master healer of self. You don't have to face pain alone. You don't. Shame, fear, and the overwhelming hurt, it stands in our way, but you can overcome it. Tell your stories, guys. Be your authentic self, take accountability, and never look back. Become a master healer of self. Like any other healing process, it takes one step and one day at a time. But be gentle with yourself throughout your healing journey. Allow yourself to experience whatever emotion you need to. Don't hurt yourself and don't hurt anyone else. Just focus on healing. Go back as far as you can remember and heal those wounds all the way up to now in real time. Be transparent, guys. Be honest with yourself. Be willing to make the changes. You owe it to yourself. You deserve to heal. Now, I feel it's important to mix like a little bit of the pleasant memories with the unpleasant ones. It's always about balance. So it doesn't matter if your memories are scattered and your healing is all over the place. My memories are scattered and my healing is all over the place, but I am working on it diligently. My memories are coming back full force, whether they're all over the place or not. And I appreciate that. The only thing that matters is just be kind to yourself and remember what you can in whatever order you can. Remember, guys, growth is what matters. This is my beginning. Let's heal together. Now, as I said, my memories are all over the place. So I guess I figured I'd start tackling my healing with some of the more pleasant memories. I can think back when I was in school, the young me. I always did well in school. I was always really good in art. I could draw pretty good. I haven't sat down and drew anything in a long time, but I'm sure if I sat down and started drawing again, it would be like riding a bike. I used to love science fairs. I used to love science fairs because I love science. I even remember when I joined the band when I was in junior high school, or what they call middle school. I learned how to play the flute, and then when I became first flute, I learned how to play the piccolo. It was awesome. I never really liked social studies. I don't know what it was about social studies. It just didn't feel accurate to me. And I just never had a connection with social studies for some reason. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. My elementary school was PS 221. My junior high school / middle school was Mahalia Jackson, IS 391. And my high school was Murray Bertram. Even though I did really well in school, I absolutely hated reading books. I hated reading books. I actually still don't like to read books. I can listen to an audiobook with no problem, but sitting down for countless hours reading a book, I know some people that's their jam, but that's just not my jam at all. Me, I always loved music. I remember I used to sit with my Walkman and I used to pause the songs and write down the words so I can sing along with it until I memorized it. And I used to go in the closet with one of those big spoons and just become a performer. I used to perform just sitting Indian style in the closet. And I used to love to skate, roller skate. I used to love skating. I used to love skateboards. I used to love riding bikes. I never had a bike, but my karmic father, he bought me skates and he bought me a skateboard. So I was really good at both of those. I even remember when I built, not just me, but me and the neighborhood friends, we built a go-kart out of milk crates. It was amazing. For us to be that small, it was amazing that we did that. We used to go to this little area that had grass and trees. We used to call it the hill. And we used to just run around the hill acting like we were exploring. I remember one time it was a snowstorm and we took cardboard boxes and we would slide down the hill until we hit the gate at the bottom. And I don't know what happened. I slid down that hill so fast. The only thing I remember is hitting that gate and I couldn't speak. I got the wind knocked out of me for the first time. It was crazy, but I did it again once I could start talking again. I even remember back in the days when the TV used to go off at midnight. The TV would have a snow screen. It would just shut off at midnight and then it would come back on in the morning. And of course my Saturday mornings was footy, cereal, my favorite cartoons. Oh man, I used to love cartoons. Like, I remember Voltron, He-Man, reading Rainbow, Care Bears. Let me see. I remember Captain Caveman. One of my favorites, Tom and Jerry, Roadrunner, Bugs Bunny, and like my favorite shows. I used to watch The Facts of Life all the time. Mork and Mindy, Alf. I used to watch Punky Brewster, Give Me a Break, 227, Odd Couples, Golden Girls. I've seen every episode of Golden Girls about 5 million times. I know every single episode. The Honeymooners. I used to love all those shows. I was weird because even though I didn't like to read, I used to actually like to go to the library. I like to research. So I used to go to the library to research. That's back in the days. I'm about to show my age. That's back in the days when you would get on a microfiche, or you would go through the card catalog and you have to write down the number and then go walking through the aisles to figure it out. That's way back in the days. I remember one of those libraries used to have a real mean security guard. There was a library on Eastern Parkway. It was a real mean security guard, a male. He used to throw you at the library for everything. You can do anything, he'll throw you at the library. I remember that. Kids did not like this security guard. I remember I used to do really good with book reports. I would always do well with anything with writing. But even, gosh, I don't even know if you guys remember this. You used to have to make like a little thing from a shoebox. You have to like create a whole scene. Basically, like, I cannot remember the name of it. You have to make a scene that reflects the book, and you could use anything inside that little shoebox, but somebody would have to look at it and kind of tell what the book was about. And I also remember putting those little strings on hangers, and that was one of our projects too, putting little strings on hangers and having like little pictures or something like that to show the book that you read. And I remember I used to love video games. I never had an Atari. We never had a video game console. At least I didn't. And our neighbor from upstairs, Derek, he used to bring his console, his Atari console downstairs. Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. Those were my jams. But it was nothing like going to the store where they actually had the arcade game there. You put your quarter in there and your hands are moving fast as lightning with your joystick. I remember all of that. Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, those were my jams. I was no joke at Miss Pac-Man. I killed Miss Pac-Man. Another thing that I was good at was Double Dutch. Double Dutch was it, man. If you didn't know how to jump Double Dutch back in those days, you played yourself, you know. I remember Skelly and Hopscotch, you know, but Double Dutch was it. I used to do little tricks, speed jump, all that bunch of good stuff. Oh my gosh, I even remember trying to start a little small business because I used to go to South Carolina for the summers, and we used to make Kool-Aid and put it in a plastic cup and freeze it and call it Chili Bears, and then we used to sell it. I think we used to sell it for like 10 cents or a quarter. And we did pretty good with that, actually, until my karmic aunt, she wanted in on the business and she kind of took it over, so we kind of just left it alone. Like I said, guys, it's nothing wrong with when you're trying to heal. Start off with pleasant memories, things that make you smile, things that make you giggle, things that when you think about it, you just have joy in your heart. Because I remember some not so good memories, you know. I used to have to wear hand-me-downs, and they used to make fun of my nappy hair. They really used to make fun of my nappy hair. I used to wear my hair sometimes, most times, in ponytails. And, well, people that I grew up with used to call me Boing-oing because I know this is not a good memory, but it's funny. They used to call me Boing-oing because my ponytails used to just stick straight out left and right. So it used to look like handlebars, basically. So they used to call me Boing-oing. I even remember Christmas time, I always had like a little tiny tree. It used to be so small, it used to sit on top of the end table in the living room. That's the reason why when I became an adult, I always had a tree that reached the ceiling. For the most part, maybe 1 or 2 years, I had an artificial tree, but for the most part, I had a real tree, and it was always huge. Every year, I made sure of that. And it was crazy because when I was growing up, I used to be sent to like a Jehovah's Witness church with my best friend at the time because they didn't celebrate holidays. So it was like, I guess that was one way for me not to get gifts or whatever, but it was what it was. You know, I remember many times wanting a bike for Christmas. I never got that, so I used to have to ride my friends' bikes and like borrow their bikes. I never had a birthday party. You know, I used to spend the night out a lot, but I was never allowed for anybody to spend the night at my house for some strange reason. But I was allowed to spend the night out. That was pretty odd. I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm definitely telling my age again. I don't know if you guys remember like the paper food stamps, but I used to be so embarrassed to use those paper food stamps. It was crazy. It's like I used to scout out the store outside and wait till it get cleared out and run in there as fast as I can, grab the stuff that I can, and run out of there. Shoot, I also remember getting a whooping for everything. I used to get a whooping for everything, and I used to jump around. I used to get in even more trouble. My whooping would be worse if I jumped around. I guess I was supposed to just stand there and take it, but that was impossible. I was shaking and moving like there's no tomorrow, man. I was not about to stand there whether it got worse or not. I used to be dipping and diving. I used to be the Matrix on that belt. I remember something that's pretty gross. This is a trigger warning. The karmic adults that raised me, they used to actually urinate in a bucket in their room, and I remember having to dump the pee bucket. I remember being so grossed out over dumping that pee bucket. It was incredible. I never understood that. It was crazy because they used to like upgrade the apartment, you know, put fabrics on the walls and buy new linen and all kinds of things, buy new things for their room. But they never did any upgrades on our room. And that was the crazy part. But that dumping the pee bucket thing, oh, I could not stand that. I couldn't stand that just as much as I could not stand serving the person who assaulted me literally on a silver platter. Like, that was the rule. You had to serve his food to him he bought a set of silver platters, and we used to have to serve him his food on a silver platter. I hated that so much. It's crazy because I didn't expect to sit here and laugh at this while I'm talking about it. I expected when I started talking about the unpleasant things that, you know, it would bring out a different emotion, but it's actually funny to me. See what I'm saying, guys? The healing may hit you different. You know, you may think that it's going to make you depressed, but at some point, who knows, maybe you can laugh at it. At some point, maybe the pain turns to laughter. And I'm not saying everything, because some things are not funny. Some things are not funny at all. I don't care how long you've healed from it, but some things are. These things that I'm mentioning, these are hilarious, you know. I remember when I got hit by a car. I was riding a bike on the sidewalk and a car came flying out the alleyway and hit me, and I had to get rushed to the hospital. I remember that like it was yesterday. It was so weird because I don't even know how that happened. That was so crazy how that happened. I don't know. I can visualize it right now. I can visualize being on the bike. I can visualize as I'm about to ride past the alley, a car just came out of nowhere. And usually cars did come out the alleyway, but they would stop. This car just came straight out and just hit me. It was the craziest thing ever. And I also remember the people who raised me coming outside trying to settle with these people with cash. I remember that. Because I didn't know what that meant, but I remember hearing it. I remember them standing around talking about it, saying we can just, you know, settle this if you give a cash payment or something like that. I remember that like it was yesterday. I know I remember being in Girl Scouts, but I only was able to stay in Girl Scouts long enough until the payment was due, and then I had to get out. Just like track when I was in high school. I was on the track team. We used to run across the Brooklyn Bridge and back, but once it was time to buy, you know, uniforms and stuff like that, I had to get out. So I'm not going to go on and on and on, guys. This is just my beginning. This is just my beginning of taking it all the way back. I suggest everyone do it. You know, start out with some pleasant memories. It could be all over the place. It could not make sense to you at the time. But who knows, someday you can listen back to your own videos and it could be healing and you can laugh with it, you know. We deserve to heal and we can heal together, guys. So let's heal together. This is just the beginning for me. Start your beginning.